Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Gym owners keep asking why they can't reopen if places like casinos can. Something Governor Whitmer said today may give them hope.
But we'll begin with breaking news here at 6. The death of one of Michigan's most infamous inmates, convicted murderer Bob Bashara. From the moment Jane Bashara was found dead back in 2012, investigators zeroed in on her husband, Bob.
The Grosse Pointe Park man was accused of hiring a handyman to strangle Jane. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced in 2015 to life in prison.
Tonight, Michigan Department of Corrections confirms Bob Bashara, seen here in his most recent prison photo, has died. Sean Lay, live with the latest on what we've learned this afternoon. Sean.
Let's get right to it, Devin. The big question tonight, what is the cause of death here for Bob Bashara, only 62 years old, in prison, but a prison that houses sick inmates? We learned at his trial that he did have diabetes. We also learned from sources tonight that he was very sick, dating back to this past January, dropping a lot of weight, even losing some toes. Tonight, we're getting instant reaction to his death from Jane Bashara's sister and the very first judge who faced him in court. Big news tonight about Bob Bashara. Local 4 has confirmed tonight that Bob Bashara is dead. This is one of the most recent prison photos of the man who called himself Big Bob. His appearance different than what we saw when this case first broke. And you'll remember this case wasn't just sensational. It didn't just go nationwide. It was truly awful. Bob Bashara's wife, Jane, a respected marketing executive, a well-known member of the Grosse Pointe Park community, was found dead in the back seat of her SUV in an alley in Detroit. It was 2012. Jane Bashara had been murdered. That pulled the lid off of Bashara's double life, involved with other women, alternative lifestyles, and apparently wanted his wife out of his life, hiring a hitman to do the dirty work, who turned out to be his own handyman. Judge Kenneth King did the very first exam with Bashara to determine if there was enough evidence to put him on trial. His instant reaction tonight to his death.
It really is a shock and surprise because, this is one of those cases that stays with you because there was so much notoriety surrounding it, and it was such an unusual case. And it's one of the cases that I'll probably never forget. And to know that he's met his own demise, it kind of caught me off guard.
The death of Bob Bashara, instant reaction continues to pour into Local 4. Julie Rowe, Jane Bashara's sister, telling Local 4 moments ago, I am disappointed he only spent 8 years in prison. That is just not long enough for all that he ruined. Devin, Kimberly, also in our piece there, that recent photo of Bob Bashara from prison, startling the amount of weight that he lost there. And when Judge King says this case stays with you, that is very true. Back to you.
All right, Sean. Other breaking news to get to here at 6. Michigan State University has just announced undergraduate classes are going to start online only this fall. This comes after the university initially planned to offer classes in person. University says it's going to work the next 2 weeks to transition those that were in person or hybrid classes to remote formats, but we're watching a wave of decision making having to be done on the fly across the country. University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill now has an outbreak of more than 130 cases of COVID-19. They're moving online. Notre Dame, which had just reopened for classes in person, just announced that they're now going to start with at least 2 weeks of only online learning. And now Michigan State making its announcement this afternoon. Classes for Michigan State are set to begin on September 2nd.
And that's just one of the coronavirus headlines affecting Michigan. The state is reporting 477 new cases of COVID-19 and 15 additional deaths. 7 of those are from a review of records.
Governor Whitmer's office today applied for federal funding to provide for an additional $300 per week to unemployed Michiganders. If approved, around 900,000 people in Michigan, getting close to 1 million, would get the supplemental payment.
State Senator Michael McDonald of Macomb Township says he's sent more than 4,700 letters to the governor's office, co-signed by constituents who want ice arenas to be allowed to reopen at limited capacity. The letter says some of the arenas are on the brink of collapse due to the high operating expenses of keeping the ice frozen, and that safe social distancing is possible due to the large size of the arenas.
Now, meanwhile, gyms continue lobbying for their opportunity to reopen, and Governor Whitmer seems more and more open to a limited phase-in.
Victor Williams is live with what the governor said about it today. Victor.
Yeah, guys, so it's the question that everyone has been looking for the answer to. When are these gyms going to reopen? And from what we heard from the governor today, let's just say we're all remaining optimistic. Gym goers and gym owners alike have been longing for the day they can return to breaking a sweat.
We've been out of business ever since March 15th.
Jab's CROSSTRAIN owner Aman Rashad has been patiently waiting, hoping he can get his business back on track and on the treadmill.
I'm feeling hopeful. Hopefully the governor, loosens the restrictions at some point, or, soon there very well may not be any gyms in the state of Michigan.
Today, Local 4 was able to speak to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who hinted at gyms possibly opening back up at limited capacity.
I would like to get some people back in gyms. We're just trying to make sure that we've got the protocols to keep people safe.
As of right now, having gyms move their members outside is only a temporary fix, so the governor is hoping to find more of a permanent solution.
When you're breathing heavily, that's the most, that is one of the more dangerous factors around spread of COVID, when you're in close quarters and inside. And so we would have to have some very serious and tight protocols around it, but we are looking to that and we're working with the industry.
But Rashad says he'll believe it when he sees it.
We'll look into it is, I guess, a pretty vague statement, so I'm not overly excited about it, nor am I going to gear our large client base up for coming back and get them excited, and then they can't come back.
And we'll just have to see what happens with those coronavirus numbers, but keep those fingers crossed. Reporting live tonight, Victor Williams, Local 4.
Okay,
back to you.
Victor, thanks.
Nation's Postmaster General today said he is putting on hold some of the changes that have been announced to the Postal Service that have raised a lot of concerns about mail-in ballots not being counted in the November election. At 5, we heard from local lawmakers who've led the charge against those changes. Now let's hear from some of the postal workers themselves. Larry Spruill has been talking to them. Larry.
Yeah, Devin, a lot of postal workers across the country have been complaining about their working conditions. They're talking about working long hours without overtime pay. Now, several lawmakers came to their side, demanding that their voices be heard loud and clear.
At my location, 4 machines have been removed. As President Woods has already stated, those machines are capable of running 35,000 pieces per hour. So you multiply that times 4 per hour and you realize exactly just how many pieces of mail are able to be moved and how that will slow the process down.
Keith Combs tells me those are just some of the conditions they're facing at work. And Tuesday afternoon, workers and local lawmakers joined forces to make sure their voices are heard.
Never did I imagine when I went to Congress that I would be standing here today as a line of defense against a president who actively seeks to destroy our democracy and dismantle the Postal Service.
We stand before a United States Postal Service to say, heroes work here, and we have your back.
People who work for the United States Postal Service have come to work, have put themselves at risk in order to meet the commitment.
Several postal workers complained about mailboxes being removed across the country and here in Michigan, which could hinder ballots being counted in November. But Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson says they're working to make sure that won't happen.
We also are installing close to 1,000 drop boxes all across the state of Michigan for citizens to return their ballots if the law doesn't change.
And now we also heard from Postmaster General DeJoy earlier this evening, and he mentioned that he plans on returning things back to normal. He's going to put back the mailboxes. Also, he's going to keep the post office's hours the same, and he's also going to approve overtime. We are live in News Center tonight. Larry Spruill, Local 4.
Now, Larry, the Postmaster General is expected to testify in Washington later this week about all of this. Do we know if our local lawmakers will be a part of that and be there?
Yeah, Devin, now I spoke with all of the lawmakers today, and they're telling me they all plan on being in D.C. They are all given 5 minutes to speak. Devin?
Follow it then. All right, Larry.
Right now, researchers around the world are working on more than 165 different coronavirus vaccines. 31 of those are currently being tested in humans. While we've heard a lot about a handful of those vaccines, tonight our Dr. Frank McGeorge is here with a closer look at 2 less publicized efforts. Doc?
Yeah, Kim, several experts have said the first coronavirus vaccines available may not ultimately be the most effective. There are, in fact, a wide variety of approaches being tried, and even the U.S. military is working toward accomplishing this critical mission.
Scientists at the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research have played a major role in vaccine development before.
Our institution has been at the forefront of addressing emerging outbreaks for over 100 years.
It's contributed to about half of the vaccines approved today in the U.S. for viruses like rubella and influenza. The latest efforts are targeted at SARS-CoV-2. Their approach uses a protein called ferritin to expose the immune system to the coronavirus's spike.
By taking this protein away from the virus and just putting it onto a stable protein, we can actually generate an immune response without any of the illness associated.
Their goal is to start human trials by the end of summer or this fall. Now, another vaccine moving forward is that made by the Maryland-based biotech company Novavax. It also contains proteins from the coronavirus spike. Novavax is set to begin the second phase of human testing in 2,600 healthy adults in South Africa, as well as 240 adults with HIV. Advocacy groups have pushed for people with HIV to be included in clinical trials since their immune system may respond differently. Novavax also plans to launch trials in the U.S. and Australia in the near future.
Now, the Walter Reed vaccine candidate is considered a second-tier vaccine, meaning it would probably be ready after some of the frontrunners already produced millions of doses. Now, if the Novavax vaccine proves successful, the company says it could deliver 100 million doses for the U.S. to use in the first months of 2021.
Interesting. Well, Doc, what are the odds that we get a lot of vaccines proving effective against the coronavirus?
Well, you know, Kim, that is certainly possible, and that's actually the hope, since no single company could produce enough doses to meet the global demand. Yeah. It could also be that certain vaccines might end up working better in certain groups, like older people or children. All of that, of course, just remains to be seen.
It does. Okay. Thanks, Doc.
Governor Whitmer making headlines today, not only for her speech on night 1 of the Democratic National Convention last evening, but a moment captured just before it. Whitmer was caught on camera mouthing an expletive while making a joke about Shark Week. Governor says she was simply trying to lighten the mood.
A moment of levity before the speech. It was not a part of the speech. It was not intended to be for mass distribution. I was trying to get a laugh in a very tense room and get people loosened up. Was captured and disseminated, unfortunately, and it was a moment of levity, and nothing more than that. It's a reminder, even in places where they're supposed to have tight controls, that once you are standing by a live mic, say nothing.
That's what they say. Treat every camera and microphone as if it's hot. Whitmer's comments were not broadcast live. They were picked up on a live feed of her speech before she began.
All right, some milder summer temperatures settling in, along with a little bit of a dry spell, right, Ben?
Yes, Kim, and if you like today, you're going to love tomorrow. However, that'll be the end of the 70s. We will look at the return of the heat coming up next.
Coronavirus is forcing many schools to find new ways to fundraise. Here's an idea that's good for schools and even better for students.
What we tell schools is if a child gets one sponsor, you're going to raise more money reading for 2 weeks than you can on virtually any other fundraiser.
It's called Readathon, and I'll explain how it works coming up.